I'm Diana. I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
My name is Jane Darby Minton. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida.
My name's Matthew Finney. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, but most recently I lived in Brussels, Belgium.
I guess for me, the first thing that I wanted the most was just definitely a really strong sense of community. And I think that especially among the top institutions, academics, you can sort of get what you need from a lot of different institutions, but I think what really makes the difference is how you feel in terms of the institutions and the organizations that are actually on campus.
Yeah, when I was looking at schools, it was kind of similar. I wanted a place that would be really academically challenging, but I also wanted a place where everyone loved being there. And when I visited Yale, I realized everyone was just happy and really engaged, and I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience. I just knew that I wanted to be in the United States, and that when I went to school, I wanted to be someplace where it was a small community within a much larger community, so that there would be people that you knew and people that knew you within all of the resources of a bigger school.
So, I took the SAT. I took it once, and I remember it was a really nerve-wracking process. I think you probably understand why now. Like, everyone understands it's really important. But I think what's really important to remember is that the SAT doesn't really test for your intelligence all the time. Obviously, if you're smarter, that helps. But something that was really important for me was to take a lot of practice tests, and I think that just familiarizing yourself with the test really helps, and that's something that you should definitely do.
I also took the SAT, and I think that when you're going into that, it's easy to think that, oh, this is going to make or break me, but I think that the best way to really go in is realize it's only one part of your application, and a lot of other things matter too. And with the SAT, if you go in not being scared by the test, you're just going to do better.
When I took the SAT for the first time, I got to the testing center in the morning, and it was just so crowded. I thought all of Belgium was there taking that test, and it made me a little nervous, but it went fine. It's a long test, and I think the best thing is to make sure you get a good night's sleep the night before, and that you're up at least an hour and a half before the test, and you get a good breakfast, and you just make sure your brain is working correctly before you take it, because cramming really doesn't work. The time I crammed was the time I got the lowest score I got on the SAT, so yeah, that's my advice.
So I think the thing that's really important to keep in mind throughout this whole process is that if you're applying to sort of the elite institutions, what ends up happening is that a lot of people are class president, a lot of people are president of the debate team, etc., editor of the newspaper, but what you really need to do is show why those things matter to you, and that's what I tried to do with my essay. I wrote about debate, which was a really important activity for me all throughout high school, and I tried to talk about why specifically debate was important to me, so I wrote about both debate and my family and what it meant to me personally to be able to compete in different countries and sort of express myself, and I think that's what that was the type of strategy I tried to take in my essay.
Yeah, with the Yale application at least, and I think this is true of a lot of different applications or a lot of different applications I sent, I had two big essays. There's the Common App essay, and then there's also a supplement essay. And for my Common App essay, I took a similar route as Diana. I was really involved with Latin competitions in high school, which is kind of a weird thing. So I wrote about a specific moment and really tried to capture in that moment why I had spent 5 years working on these classics competitions, instead of just saying, oh, these are the things I've won, this is what I've accomplished. But with my other essay, I took a very different route. I just tried to show who I was, and I think that's a really important thing. You've got to remember that they want to know who you are as a person. So I kind of viewed my essay as like a hologram, like projecting myself into the admissions room and seeing if I would fit kind of personality-wise and showing them who I was, and if they decided that that's what they wanted.
In my Common App essay for Yale, I really wrote about an experience that just defined my life as I know it, which was moving to Belgium when I was 10. And so I wrote about that experience, living abroad, getting to live in a new country, learn a new language, just immerse yourself in a new culture. And through that, I really was able to show, what made me me. I talked about all of sort of the most defining experiences of my time in Belgium, and how that changed me as a person, how that made me sort of, I guess, who I am today, as cliche as that sounds. And then in my my supplement essay specific to Yale, I wrote about an internship experience I had in Brussels, just demonstrating some of the things I was able to learn and the things I hope to learn in college to hopefully get more experiences like that.
I think something that was really helpful for me is definitely use the resources you have around you, which means definitely talk to older people that have already gone through the process. And I think it's true, experience is the most important thing in this, and obviously everyone only really goes through this one time, so you can't really ask your peers around you. They are going through the same thing, but it's especially helpful to talk to someone who can maybe give you specific tips about any questions you have about any particular part of the process, or if someone's at the school that you're applying to, that's also really helpful because they can explain to you how they went through the process, and I think for me that was the most helpful thing.
I'm going to say kind of the piece of advice that I think everyone says but everyone ignores. You really want to make sure that you be yourself in your application, and you want to present yourself for who you are. First of all, because that's what the admissions office wants to see. I'm sure that it's very refreshing to get an application that's candid and honest. And on the other hand, you also really want the school to choose you for who you are, not for who you're presenting yourself to be, because when you get there, they're going to be choosing you based on what they see on your application, and to make it a good fit, you've got to show yourself.
I think it's really great if at some point you have a chance to go and visit these schools that you're thinking of applying to, but if you're living in Belgium, that's maybe not always the most practical thing if you're applying to schools in the United States. So I would really suggest that you keep in touch with the admissions officers responsible for international admissions at that school, because if you let them know that, hey, I'm considering applying from Belgium, I'm really interested in this school, at some point you're going to get a phone call from a current student, and this student is probably going to be someone who's from your country, from Belgium, who can really tell you about the school, tell you what it's like to go to that school, having been in the Belgian education system, having lived in Belgium, having had similar life experience to you. And that's really something that's incredibly valuable. So yeah, definitely keep in touch, take advantage of all the resources that you have with the international admissions offices, with students that you might know who from your school have gone to schools in the United States, and with your local Fulbright coordinators.